We are recording. Good evening. This is the April 29th, 2026 special meeting of the Town of New Canaan Affordable Housing Subcommittee, Project Development Subcommittee. First item on the agenda is the roll call. Krista Nielsen is here. Hillary Ormond. Here. Bill Perrette. Bob Strong. Mike Sweeney. Here. Jane Williams. Here. Jeff Williams.
Here.
And we also have Chris Wilson, who is the chairman of the full committee, in attendance this evening. The second item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from our April 15th meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
For changes?
Second.
All right, Jeff and Jane. All right, so let's just get to the business then. So the first thing that we wanted to talk about was some of the material Jane put together that I sent out in our email yesterday, which consisted of two different things. One is a press release to announce the workshop we plan on having, and then the second is a series of frequently asked questions to go on our website. Has everyone had a chance to review this, or do you want Jane to walk us through? Or should we just start with feedback? We've reviewed it. We might as well just go to feedback, right?
Sure.
Which one do you want to start with?
Fine, let's start with the press release. I can find it on here. And I'm not finding it. There we go. Obviously there are a couple blanks still, but is there anything you see that it's pretty straightforward?
Yeah. I mean, I thought the tone and the content was great.
Thank you. I was trying to use very plain English words, which is hard. And if you want anything else in here, any more specificity, I thought we should include the frequently asked questions link in here.
Yeah.
Especially after today's letter, I think there will be more interest in those. And
Yeah.
I want to actually add a paragraph back to the one about the committee, the answer that Chris wrote. But anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. And was there anything else that we should link to in here?
Well, I think probably for a press release, you don't want too many links,
No,
right?
I
Because I
agree.
don't know how it's going to get distributed. It might not always be clickable.
Right. Okay.
Depending on the medium, right? Like if it's in the newspaper. I just had a few, and I don't need to go through them in the meeting. I'll just give this to you, just a few,
Okay, great.
you know,
I mean,
minor
thank you very much.
edits, but nothing substantive, just kind of like add a word here,
Perfect.
add a word there.
Thank you. Appreciate all words
Mhm.
added and taken away.
Does anybody else have thoughts?
We could put it up there if you want to look at, if you didn't have a chance to look at it.
No, I looked at it. It looked fine to me.
Great.
I think the press release is just to get the message out. I don't think later on we'll be more details.
Yeah.
And so while we're on that topic, do you want to talk about where we're going to use the press release?
Yeah. We talked about this last time a little bit, but
Yeah. Do we have like a kind of timeline plan of,
Um,
or we just,
well, not really.
okay.
We haven't really talked about that, of when, what should happen. And I think that may have changed a bit today, but we can talk about it. We know that May 11 is the deadline for the next First Selectmen's newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you were copied, were you, Krista? Were you too,
From
Hillary, on what Greg Riley?
Greg, yeah.
sent in? Which I should
Which was like
up now.
Instagram, face, like other places that they publicize
Yep.
things.
Let me just find that. That was nice of him.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he
Let me look
sent,
at the calendar.
What was this, suggested places that you could,
yeah, he was talking about other town places. Sorry, I'm still such a newbie to Outlook and it's so not intuitive to me. Does anybody else have that problem?
yep.
I just don't even use it. Are you using the town Outlook?
Yeah.
I just have it come to my like my mailbox mail. I can see it that way.
Okay, let's see. Canaan.info homepage, news stories, readership not clear, Facebook, 2,800 followers, Instagram, I'm assuming these are the town pages,
Mm-hmm.
6,650 followers, news releases to local media, which I think is what we would do.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I think the frequently asked questions
Is
are up and I know Tucker wanted the IT folks to work on that. They were apparently having a meeting on Monday, but I have not heard back from her yet.
in terms of getting them on the website.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also adapting it to the format that Fairfield uses.
Oh, so
which
that
I
you
like.
can
So you
click so
click
it drops
to get the
down.
answer to drop down instead of having to see the
Scroll.
massive document.
Yeah.
News from Town Hall newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
He already saving a spot in the May 14th issue. So those were his suggestions. We talked about the New Canaan moms,
Mm-hmm.
and we just need to talk about, maybe Hillary, you and I could do this when and what. Somebody asked me about Chamber of Commerce.
We do send a newsletter. I don't know how often. Maybe monthly.
Yeah, I
Just in terms of a
get the newsletter. I
conversation.
don't think it's an ideal
Yeah.
venue for this.
I think everything else we have is good.
Good. Okay.
So will Greg send it to the, like the New Canaanite and the Sentinel and those places? Is that what he means by local news media?
I could send it.
I was texting with Peter. Peter asked me if we had something. He texted me on Monday to see if we had something for this Friday, which we would have had to get to him today. And I said that we were meeting tonight and we're
Mhm.
working on the language and we would get him something to be published next Friday. So Peter's on board.
Which is a better
I think that's a
date,
better
I think,
timing.
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I was gonna say, like looking at the calendar, our meeting is on Tuesday, May 19th. I think 2 weeks is a good time frame. I mean, I don't really plan my life more than 2 weeks out. So, so yeah, next week would be great because that's within the 2-week window.
And he can put it on, like, we can ask him to then put it in the community calendar for the following week. So if people, I think a lot of people take that part of the paper and literally like put it on their fridge or what have you.
Mhm.
So we can ask him to put that in the community
Yeah.
calendar and he'll be happy to do that. With Mike at the New Canaanite, I think we can submit it even as a letter to the editor if we wanted to, or I don't know how he usually does press releases. I can ask him, but
It's
we can-
probably better that it appears as an article. I've sent him things to,
Yeah.
press release type
Oh.
stuff, and sometimes he puts your name on it, sometimes he puts his name on it.
yeah, and I think he turns stuff around
Yeah.
fairly quickly. So
It's-
I don't think we need to plan. It's not like the Sentinel where it needs to get published
He's
in
very
hard
quick.
copy.
He's very quick.
Mike is super quick and he'll publish it. New Canaan Moms, it'll be fine. I'll ask them how many times we can do it. And I would suggest we post next week and then again the following week.
Right.
Okay.
I'm sure they'll let me post twice. It's not like
Great.
I'm
And I
Yeah.
think,
selling tickets or anything. so.
well, we can get to the messaging in a minute, maybe, but I do think that maybe I'm crazy, but I think today changed maybe what our first sentence is for a lot of these things. Because I do think we need to clarify what our role is and isn't. I don't know if you read all the questions to the Canaanite.
I didn't read them all.
There lots,
Yeah,
and lots of questions about process, and I think
I
that-
felt a strong desire to respond, and I
Yeah.
decided that was not a good idea.
Yeah, I
So do you mean
It's
change the
important for us
first
to say.
sentence of your workshop?
I don't
notice?
know. I just wonder if we should talk about that, not the workshop release necessarily,
Okay.
but in our outreach and maybe in the FAQs, basically say, no, we're not involved, except we're trying to prevent this situation from happening again.
Yeah, maybe we just address, we already say we're not involved.
Right.
Maybe we just clarify that in addition to the planning applications, any negotiation, or just add something that addresses the subject of the letter today, just to clarify that we are not involved.
Yeah,
I mean, we could even say something, I can work on the language with you, something along the lines of, where we talk about when we were formed and we were tasked with this, we could say, even to be clear, our sole objective is to identify for town leaders options for 100% affordable housing that the town builds and runs. We are not involved in any current or pending 830G applications or the negotiations surrounding them or something like that.
Yeah.
You can say
I
something.
think that the part that I find compelling though, is that really the whole reason we exist is to get out in front of a
Right.
situation.
Yeah.
Be the
Exactly like
antidote.
The one that people are writing letters about today.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the reason everybody should come and we should have this conversation. That's
Right.
our job. It's
Right.
our only job.
Yeah.
So I don't know the best way to say it or the most politic way to
This
say it.
goes to the genesis of the ordinance.
Yeah.
The genesis of the ordinance was to be.
Proactive.
and react.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
there is a question on that subject. I had a paragraph that was
Yeah.
deemed redundant,
So we're gonna put it
And
back in.
got taken out, but it's probably worth putting back in and maybe adding something to
Yeah.
it about or any subsequent negotiations with developers or something along those lines.
Okay.
I think that's important because we don't want
Yeah.
people coming and assuming that we're going to talk
And
about.
then on
we
the
have no
day,
input there.
I think that has to be a preamble to the
Yeah.
whole discussion.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we kind of cut it off right up front.
Beginning.
Yeah.
By the way, back to your question, whether Greg would be our liaison, he says Tucker is the director of communications. She should be your primary contact for green light to use these outlets.
Okay.
CC me as helpful as I can help execute.
Okay.
So that's what we can do.
Okay.
Yeah, we should probably provide Tucker sort of a timeline for each of those.
Yeah, Like when you would like them.
subsections, like here's, we anticipate,
on
particularly for under the, New Canaan Press, we can say, submit this date
Submit
for
this date
publish
for this
for
date.
this date for that. And so she sees that, and she might say, okay, well, then we're going to put it on the website on this. Then she can mess around with the dates a little bit, but we can put target
Great.
dates and just say, like, she knows Peter needs it by next Wednesday at the latest. So I think as long as we provide her a timeline for each of those publications, she'll be,
Okay.
that's
Does it
helpful.
work with the town website, will get posted? Sometimes they post things, a week ahead, upcoming dates on
Yeah.
a little calendar.
Yeah.
Yes.
But then they highlight it in the rectangles. Do they do
Yeah, I
that?
don't know.
You could
I
ask.
can ask.
It seems like it's usually things that are pretty close in time. It's
Yeah,
not usually a week
highlight.
out. It's usually like the next 3 days or that week or something. But yeah, I mean, you could ask how we
I
get
think
it.
the key is just somebody sits with Tucker and just lays out what we're looking
Yeah,
for.
maybe
She's
we can
pretty,
always talk about that.
pretty proactive.
Great.
So you guys, Hillary and Jane can handle working with Tucker to get this out.
Yeah, I hope so.
That's all we can do, Hillary. We can just try our
Tucker's
best.
she's so helpful. So I like to make it easier for her because she's got a lot on her plate.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
Yeah, so we'll work with her on those publishing dates.
Okay. And I mean, I think we're planning on using the same material, right? The same language for basically all of it. It's just
Yeah.
different publications may need to massage it slightly differently to fit their format.
Mhm.
Should we make like something more visual, like a flyer that like for New Canaan Moms Facebook? I'm thinking more for like social media,
You
like.
you did a flyer for your B and Z meeting, right?
I think we
I
did.
saw,
I mean, I
I
didn't
saw the
make it.
flyer in a couple of places.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering something more visual that, if you see
Yes,
3
less
paragraphs,
texty and more.
less texty and more like
Yeah,
Affordable
that's
Housing
nice
Committee,
strength,
public
but
meeting,
It's a good idea.
Maybe with a QR code.
maybe with a QR code. Maybe AI could do it.
QR code to anything in particular or just one because it looks
I don't
cool.
I don't know. He makes QR
Shopping.
codes.
Yeah.
Just have Chris make you one. We don't know. It'll be a surprise.
Yeah, and Peter had actually pointed to that box that was printed on the front page of the Sentinel for that workshop and said, we can do something like this too, which is visually, I think, impactful because it was like blue and it stood out from the rest of the page. So I think we could do both press release and like a.
So if we do some
advertisement.
sort of advertisement and if we do want to do a QR code, I would think the link would be to one of the outlets that's run an article
Yeah.
on this where all the material is available. So, you know, the flyer is just Affordable Housing Committee public meeting, May 19th, blah, blah, blah.
Who did the flyer for you? Did you do
I don't get paid enough.
it? You're a flyer person?
No.
Okay, who do you ask to help us? with that?
I could work on something.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm pretty sure on Canva or something, there's like a template.
okay.
I don't know what you, probably houses. I don't know what you'd put as your little
I know.
picture, but
I would ask my daughter to do it, but it would come out with like horses on it.
that's
It
true.
would
That'd be
I could ask my
perfect.
daughter to do it if you get really stuck.
It would
Jane.
not be on point.
Flowers and bubbles.
You could put Canaan Parish. That's what,
That's
Oh,
true.
yeah,
That's
that's a
the
great
picture
idea.
that's on the back of the PowerPoint.
it's
that I
also the
made.
Heritage Homes opening to their website. It's,
Oh, yeah. So I'm
I could steal
actually,
it from David.
well, you'll see in the
Montgomery.
presentation, but I have the Canaan Parish is like a black and white sketch background. If you wanna, I can send you that image.
Great,
you
I'm
could
not
put
the
on.
right person to do this.
Okay,
part.
I can send Hillary that image and her daughter can horses.
Keep on.
I can
No,
send
no.
Chris that
I'm
image.
trying to avoid,
She
she is trying to avoid having me do it. Okay.
No, I want you to do it. You
I'm
show
gonna
up
do
at
it.
this meeting, I'm gonna
I'm
give
gonna
you an
do it.
assignment, Chris.
Well,
Alright.
she's gonna put horses and bubbles and
Okay,
flowers.
that's
Send Chris black and white.
I do like the idea of Canaan Parish as like
Yeah.
the sort of backdrop and then
It is.
effective.
Okay. So any more thoughts on public outreach in terms of the press release and or how we plan to get the word out? If not, we can talk about the frequently asked questions. All right. Did everyone have a chance to read the frequently asked questions?
Krista, can I send you the paragraph that, because we talked about 830G several times, when Chris sent in his answer to, do we have a role in the 830G project? I lopped off actually it's a sentence that I realized today we need to put back in there because it could be important. It is important.
This probably goes away when it goes onto the website, but there are different fonts involved.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know. Yeah, it was fascinating how many different fonts came up. I just decided in the end not.
Isn't
to
it maddening sometimes? I'm
Yeah.
like, what, why
I
are
mean,
they
some
doing this
things are
to me?
italicized, some things are, but anyway.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know if the website people will fix that. They may.
Yeah, I think they will, and I'm not sure if you know what I mean by the Fairfield. I don't know if that.
I know what you mean,
But
'cause I sent it
basically,
to
it's a
you.
list of the questions,
With like
and then you,
drop down.
it's a drop
Yeah,
down. So, I
Very
think
good.
that format would be great.
Yeah,
But I'm gonna send you this question and answer over again, Krista, okay?
Mhm.
For does the Affordable Housing Committee play a role?
I mean, overall, I also, anything, kind of like when you go to someone else's house for dinner and you eat their food and you're like, this is excellent. Anything I don't have to do, I think is excellent, Jane. Thank you. This is amazing.
All right, I'm forwarding this to you.
Things, thoughts I had, so we'll talk about it when we go through the presentation, but I do list some questions there that I'm trying to hopefully answer with the presentation. And there were just a couple that we might want to add to the frequently asked questions, since I plan to, in the presentation, talk about that we have frequently asked questions and
Great.
that this is a lot of information that we're sharing with you tonight. So please feel free to refer back to them so that you can further comprehend what we're talking about. And two of them that I didn't see covered here were, how did we select the sites?
Mhm.
Which I'm happy to write up the answer to that for you. And then also sort of where we're at and where we're headed in terms of next steps of the Affordable Housing Committee.
Do you want those added right after the session we have,
We could, yeah.
rather than put them on there today because, or whenever this goes out?
Yeah, yeah, that
It
makes
might
sense.
beg questions that we don't.
so in terms of next steps, we're gonna clarify that at some point, we're turning this over to the Housing Authority.
Yeah, it does say
yeah.
that in, to the Housing Authority versus the,
Yes, you did have it.
Board
in
of Selectmen?
Board of Selectmen, like.
Well, no, so, yes, so once the Board of Selectmen approves, project-wise, there's a handover. We're
Yeah.
not developing anything.
no.
Right.
So, yes, Board of Selectmen
But
first.
we're offering a recommendation.
We are offering a
That's-
recommendation to the
that's-
Board of
That's really what.
To the, and then that's the end of our work.
It's more kind of delimiting our role in these
Yeah.
things, making sure that
Yeah,
They were
understand.
not confused as.
We're not
as
building a
developers.
building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no. Okay, do you think that needs to be added into the press release or should?
No, not to the
No, I
press
think your
release.
press release is good.
Okay, but once we get to what are next steps after the
Yeah.
library session?
I didn't know, was this answer, I thought this might have been answering a FAQ, but ignore, it's not for the press release, sir.
No, it is answering an FAQ. We were just talking about two that Krista wants to be put on the FAQ list right after the,
Yeah,
how did you come up with these options? And what are the next steps?
yeah,
So Jane, right after what now?
The public meeting
The
on
May
May
19th.
19th,
19th meeting.
And
as
you-
opposed to in advance. Like, we'll give the presentation May 19th and then we'll update the Q and FAQs on the website with anything that came out of
And
that
you think it
meeting.
would be, I'm assuming what you're saying is you would think it would be better to put the FAQ on how do you select these?
Just those
efforts?
couple of questions.
Yeah, so that people don't get all confused going
Yeah.
into the.
That's
Right.
what it seems.
And we'll just have to see how challenging it is to, I mean, it can't be that challenging. It just takes someone staying on top of it to keep the IT people updating.
Yeah, I've
These-
noticed that the other towns haven't updated theirs. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been
Yeah.
years in one case. So it may not be easy.
yeah.
But-
Oh, it's not
Greenwich
hard.
also
It
has
just
an
takes,
extensive
persistence.
FAQ, which
Yeah.
doesn't get updated.
Yeah.
Theirs is very old, it has some
Yes,
updated
it is.
information.
well, because today I was looking, when I was going through these, I was looking at our website and the materials we have up there. And I had started the IT department back when we first started putting the materials for each of our meeting, each of the subcommittee meetings, like the map, when we were looking at the map and the spreadsheet and all that stuff up there. And, I haven't done that in over a year because that's just one more thing for me to do after every meeting is like email someone and make sure it gets done, and it hasn't happened. So, I'm not sure that it's hard. I'm just think it takes some persistence on somebody's part.
I agree.
One thing you can maybe do is attach them as exhibits to minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
To make my
Sometimes-
life easier.
that, like, you can say, the documents discussed are attached as exhibits A, B, and C. And if you send it at the same time that you're forwarding minutes, it's just, but. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
That's what I
it
can do.
will be important, at least in short term, for us to try to update them. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm happy to try to stay on it because.
I think
um,
over the next 2 or 3 months, as we
Yeah.
continue to go through this public involvement process,
Yeah.
and then maybe after then it's static for a little while unless something substantively changes.
Yeah,
One thing I was thinking we might want to add in the frequently asked questions, and perhaps it's under what is section 830G, is at the end of the second paragraph, I don't know if we want to say, by contrast, when a town develops its own affordable housing, it can be affordable in perpetuity, because here it references
yeah,
40 years for developers. And I think that's important to
It's very
contrast, that
important.
we can do 100, like by contrast, when a town develops it, like New Canaan has to sort of, it can be 100% affordable and remain so in perpetuity,
Perpetuity.
which I think is an important
great.
Distinction.
distinction.
Do you think that at the end of what is 830G?
You're
I was
saying the
thinking
second paragraph.
In that second paragraph of what
Mhm.
is, because you talk about, we talk about in any town, blah, 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 developers who set aside at least 30% of units in a project as affordable for a minimum of 40 years are eligible to invoke this, and it could even be a parenthetical, although I don't know that it needs to be. And we could just say, by contrast, when a town like New Canaan develops affordable.
Shoehorn it in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think we can decide,
Can you
but I think
send,
it's a good
can
point.
you
Yep.
send me and I'll stick it in there. Great.
Yep. Do you want just that text?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
4
Hillary.
years does go by, and things are starting to go off the rolls.
Well, so Riverwood had affordable units originally,
They went up.
and they went off.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that's just it's sort of further,
Yep.
And you don't look at
Supports our
Riverwood
goal.
and say that's really old. It, it's reasonably modern.
One other thought I had on here that's just kind of generic, but I can work with you to help make it more specific, is that where we can or where we think it's appropriate, we may want to link to source
Yes.
material.
I wondered because some
You
of the FAQs we saw have the source material link at the bottom of every single one. And these are mostly a composite of a bunch of sources, but we could
But like we
put
could
for more
hyperlink,
information about 830G.
right?
blah, blah, blah.
Or even
But-
just where you say Connecticut General Statutes 830G, you could
Link
have a
to
link
that.
to the
Yeah.
actual statute for that
Mhm.
person that like, what does it say?
Yeah, how much do you think we should do that? I'm happy to do that. It's easy.
Yeah, I mean,
Just flip through quickly.
I had just maybe 4 or 5, but I didn't think about it a whole lot.
The statute.
Yeah, the statute was one place, where there is a document somewhere that goes through each town and what percent of their housing stock
called
is
the
affordable.
Housing appeals
List.
list.
Yeah, so
Where
the
we
And you
got
can
that
link to
the
that.
3.97%.
Yeah, it's a PDF
Mhm.
for each
Yeah,
year.
actually, Terry gave me the source, so I will get that from her.
So just where we have kind of like official, I mean, we don't need to go out and look for documentation, but if there's official source material kind of from the state.
So for that one, for example, about 3.9%, that answer, the second question, where would you put the hyperlink there?
I would under the 3.97%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Similarly, in the first question where you talk about the income levels of individuals that qualify,
Put that-
there
okay.
is a link. I mean, did
Yeah.
Sarah send you that?
Yep.
All right, so the affordable housing appeals list.
And then the last,
Jane, I will send you the link there.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, and I'll go through it and send you links for if there's anything else that comes to mind.
How about the certificate of affordable housing completion moratorium?
Moratorium. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's available. I know our application is available, but I'll have to ask Sarah. We'll have to ask Sarah.
I don't know that that's that important, but
I do think the most
The
recent
application is
application is
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
if you're us.
Well, I think, it would be great if more people read it.
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, it's a ton of documentation about
There's a
those
lot of
projects.
interesting detail in there.
So are you talking about the completed application or the?
The completed
The
application,
completed application that was done
and
for
I think that
the
is on the Department of
twenty
Housing
twenty-four moratorium.
website.
Yeah, you can Google that. I don't
Okay.
remember where it sits, but
Yeah, it's not with the town, it's on the state's website somewhere.
Okay, and I'll put
I'll send you that
in.
link as well.
What's a moratorium under the word moratorium, right?
Where you talk about New Canaan having,
You could say,
maybe where
Yeah.
New Canaan.
see our
currently has
most recent moratorium application here or something. But I'll give you that link too. It's Department of Housing.
And then two other, I mean, I have some wordsmithing that I'll give you, but two other minorish comments for us to discuss. Where you talk about towns that are exempt from 830G requirements.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's important to make this distinction, but most of the places that are exempt from 830G requirements are larger cities.
yeah,
Norwalk, Stanford,
Yeah.
Bridgeport. It's easier, I think, for them to accomplish this or
Well, they have
they get more funding.
federally
the
funded
10%.
Yeah, they
projects,
get
Yeah.
whereas
vouchers. Yeah.
yeah.
But, so people understand that a town our size, it's not
Yeah,
common.
I grew up in White Plains. Most of the affordable housing was federally funded in
Yeah.
White Plains.
When they're probably entitlement communities, meaning
Yeah.
they get direct money from HUD.
Mhm.
So,
Those are
yeah, the
towns,
28 municipalities. I put most of Fairfield County falls well below the 10% threshold.
Oh, yeah.
But
we could add a
I think
sentence
just
just like
say,
and those that do
are
tend
Or
to be.
tend to be
large
larger.
cities.
Larger
Large
cities.
cities, they're
The
cities.
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 they're not all cities, right?
they're not all
in
cities.
Fairfield, they are.
Fairfield, they are.
Oh, in
I-
Fairfield County,
County.
they're all cities.
Yeah.
Yes, in Fairfield, I'll confirm that,
Okay,
but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
that's
it's gotta be
correct.
Bridgeport,
Norwalk.
Norwalk,
Norwalk, Stanford, New
Stanford,
Haven.
New Haven, and then Maybe one more. Hartford, maybe?
Hartford,
Well,
but not, that's not
not
Fairfield
that-
County.
yeah.
Okay, no, I know.
Yeah,
I'm just-
Hartford-
but neither is New
Hartford-
Haven.
Hartford
I'm
is
just
definitely-
thinking.
But there's 28 of them.
Oh, there's 20.
I-
There's some smaller places.
Just
but
as an
not-
FYI, at a point in time, I converted all the PDFs to Excel. I have all 4 years or whatever it is. that,
Wow.
The housing appeals list on a spreadsheet, in
Wow.
one spreadsheet.
In addition to
If-
being the
it's not
QR
that-
code man.
It's not that interesting, but
I love that stuff. Yeah,
so if you're ever interested, I can send it.
you know me. I
So
was like
maybe
it.
what I'll put here is the note to find out if it's more interesting to say, and most of the Fairfield. the
I'll
places in
confirm
Fairfield
that.
County that qualify, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it points out that it's not uncommon for
I
a
was-
town our size to not be
To
able.
not be, well, that's what I said, we're in good
Yeah.
company, but 28 is a lot more than the
Good
number of big
company.
cities in the state.
Not sure that's the right word. Good company.
Bad company.
And you could even, it
Yeah.
could even say, 28 out of 169,
Yeah,
because I think that's a,
interesting percentage.
28 kind of
Okay.
sounds like a lot, especially for a small state, but when you consider that we're 169 in Connecticut towns and cities,
Okay,
that number gets even
And
smaller.
that group
Good
is
idea.
fairly static.
Well, I was
It
gonna
does
say,
not move
to
around a
to
lot.
your spreadsheet, I think the 28 is, I mean, maybe one moves in and maybe one moves out every now and then, but
right.
they've been
But
the
it
same
did say
places.
The number of exempt municipalities remain pretty much the same since 830G was enacted.
Yeah, so you're not seeing communities
Mm-mm.
necessarily make the list.
Okay,
And then the last comment I had, which we kind of already talked about with the press release earlier, is the question about, do we play any role in current litigation on 830G projects or current applications? Any way you can kind of just
I would just say no.
emphasize, well, yes,
Like drop down, literally, no is a complete sentence. We have nothing to do with the negotiations or the lawsuits or those developments. I mean, we really don't.
we don't.
what if we said no, except to try to prevent them in the future?
Well, so all I was gonna say is to continue to really reinforce the proactive versus
Yeah.
reactive angle.
So if we put a sentence at the top of your answer, Chris? Does the committee play a role? Just put no.
Yeah.
I don't
Leave
wa-
that as alone as
Yeah.
a sentence.
Yeah, I mean, it's an independent body under a specific
Instruction.
charter via ordinance, period. The more you talk about, then you get more nuance to your point. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree, but I also think people want to understand what different bodies in the government do. Like, okay, it's not us, you're getting the no, but like, then who?
What's wrong with saying, assuming this is a generalist audience that reads these? What's wrong with saying, no, in fact, our mandate
Right?
is to try to prevent these 830G
Yeah.
situations from happening in the future? I mean, that is our mandate.
Yeah. And I like that because it emphasizes the proactive.
Phrasing negative.
Yeah,
It sounds like
But it is what our mandate is, right?
well, it's more getting control, it's more.
Constructive control.
Constructive.
But
I
how?
still like being
Yeah.
viewed as, no, we're against affordable housing.
No, I
If we're
agree.
not,
No,
I'd rather phrase it more than positive, that
Yeah.
it's,
Well, we can say, we could say, no, our mandate or our role is to achieve successive
right, which is
Moratorium.
exactly what Chris wrote here.
and,
Yes.
I cribbed your ordinance.
But see, I'm not really comfortable with saying that's our objective, is to achieve a moratorium.
It is literally in the
Literally.
That
ordinance.
is our mandate.
But it's how. So, because we're not going to be able to do a moratorium unless we constructively control the development of affordable housing.
But only to the extent that we get 830G moratoria.
So it.
Right, but to get those moratoria, we have to construct, I mean,
Right.
there's two
There
ways we
are
get
all the
there.
right
One is
words in the
development
ordinance.
driven
We
and one is
just
town
have to
driven.
make, because it says that the objective is successive moratoria under 830G, and then it says about what we're supposed to be doing vis-a-vis, you know, the projects.
My
It's all
only
in there.
point about the plain language is Well, I'll tell you, I used my husband as a focus group of one. He sees me going to these meetings, he knows a tiny bit. He's also expert at this stuff. He read it, got to the first sentence and said, don't write 830G stuff. People don't know what that is. You lose them immediately. So I think especially in the aftermath of today, what we really want to say is, no, we're not involved. And please get involved with us, because what we're trying to do is do this in a way that prevents these situations from happening and allows the town to maintain control of its own development of affordable housing. And I don't know exactly how to do that. And I don't know if that's against the rules for kind of town government speak, but it
No.
does feel like we need to say this to people so they really understand what we're doing.
What if we say no? I love that sentence. And then just ask my kid.
Spoken like a true attorney.
But what if we said no and then said, well, you know, I used to always tell my clients, like in depositions, you give the shortest, most accurate answer. And that sometimes is yes. Like when somebody says, what's your favorite movie? The answer, or do you have a favorite movie? Yes. Then you don't elaborate until they ask
Only
the
answer
follow-up question. So what we could say too, though, is to sort of parrot back what we're saying earlier is that, no, our specific mandate is to identify sites where the town can build 100% affordable that will remain so forever, instead of allowing developers to come in and provide 30% of units that are affordable for a limited amount of time.
Well,
Like something-
but that's really not what when Mike brought that up, I agree with him that, or maybe you brought it up, that we want the permanent and we want the town to control it. But that's really not what we're shooting for. What we're trying to do is stop these accursed huge projects which are not subject to reasonable zoning as determined by the town. I'm not sure that those aren't the words we would use, but that's really what we're about here.
Well, but yes, and yes.
Because that's the principal benefit. Yes.
Yes, period.
And
How about if I just put no, yes, yes.
No, but yes. I mean, but I think to achieve, again, and if we don't want to use say like our mandate is to,
That is here. The question is, can we make it simpler after no? So that people don't get locked.
I
in
favor
moratorium.
I understand that. I favor using the wording in the actual ordinance just because it's very safe.
Okay,
If you diverge from that, then it's, I don't know.
too much value judgment.
I think we're putting
Okay,
judgments in there, which,
fine. Then let's just say no, and then and the rest of the answer as it's written.
so just back to the question, the four principal cities in Fairfield County are Stamford, Norwalk, Bridgeport, and Danbury, and they are all in moratorium. Sorry, not in, over 10%. They're
Is
all-
New Haven in Fairfield County?
no.
No,
No.
that's New
New
Haven.
Haven
New Haven
County.
Let's
Okay.
do it. Yeah.
They've got their own.
Okay, so it's fair to say that
The
the
cities.
only cities above 10% in Fairfield County the only municipalities are cities.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think that's a better approach to, either just from the word, the ordinance, or to do a very close paraphrasing of it.
yes.
I mean, we can use the words, it says the committee shall work with the housing authority, this is under mission, to increase the number of affordable housing units in New Canaan and to maintain local control of housing development. And then to achieve this, the committee shall recommend a plan to maintain successive moratoria under 830G. So I think we can say maintain local control. I mean, I think,
Yeah.
I don't think that's a value judgment. I think that,
Is maintaining the.
so.
Yeah, I was just afraid of getting at.
Yes.
The patina, not preventing affordable housing, was trying to prevent the chaos of not having control, but then I think that gets confusing too, but.
And you think maintain, yeah,
Yeah, I would
mean,
say.
right now in some ways.
We can even use the word mission, because that's in the statute. We can say the AHC's mission
Mhm.
Right.
is on
Just my edits, you can write on there if you
increasing the
want.
number of affordable housing units in New Canaan and to maintain local control of housing development. I mean, we could literally sort of
Okay.
copy and paste here. I'm gonna send you the language.
Okay,
Um,
great. So we're gonna put back in the first paragraph, Chris. Before it, we're gonna put no by itself. And then we will put in maintain local control somewhere.
Yeah.
with Hillary's.
And I
Okay.
think we can say is to work with town officials to increase the number, because I don't want to say like we're doing it.
Yeah,
Right.
You
To
know, I
Chris's
think it's
point
important
earlier.
that we, yeah. Why am I so untech savvy? Okay. Just want to copy and paste. That's all I want to do. Thanks.
okay.
Okay, so any other thoughts for Jane on these FAQs?
Were there any other than the ones that you mentioned for after the town meeting? Was there anything that jumped out at any of you all about what we missed?
No, I mean, I didn't go back and look at Fairfields and Greenwich's, but I'm assuming you kind of combed
Yeah, I
through and
did.
took what you thought was relevant from there, so I'm not gonna.
I did. I mean, I think we can add things later. For example,
Yeah.
there's information about housing trust fund. There's information, you know, depending on, Greenwich had a lot of very specific information about their 830G applications and the history of them and success and failure, et cetera, of the town. So, I think we have the main ones,
I
but
think we have the main ones, and I think, we'll know coming out of the public meeting if there's kind of burning issues that we need to
Okay.
address, then we can revisit
okay.
and update. So back to the sort of timeline thing, we need to get the FAQs up right before we start putting out the press release.
Yes, I will ask,
I'm just trying to think of
Yeah.
when's the time, like when,
Let me ask Tucker. Here it is. Let me ask Tucker if she was able to pass the IT fixes. I think we could do it quickly if they're,
yeah, I mean, once you get their attention, it'll be up in a day.
it'll take no time to do.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know about, the tech part of doing the drop down, but the actual copy paste of the text is easy.
Right. Yeah, it would be best if it's on the town website because then all we need to do is provide a link.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm thinking the location would be on our Affordable Housing
Yeah.
Committee page, maybe right under the ordinance
Yeah,
or something,
good idea.
somewhere at the top.
but then we can also distribute it
I'm thinking we'll have printed
Standalone.
handouts for the
Yeah.
public meeting
with the answers.
with the answers, because like I said, I mean, you'll see when I go through this presentation in a minute, it's a lot of information being given quickly, and it's easy for me to spout it out now because we've been talking about this for 2 years, but I imagine the person walking in the room is gonna have their eyes cross a little bit.
Yes,
So I think to have something that breaks it all down for them to take with them if they want, especially, for that type of citizen that maybe doesn't go on our website and just wants the hard copy, I think that's a nice thing to have.
okay.
So yeah, I mean, I guess we probably need to get these, what's today, the 29th, up on the website. by
Yeah, I'll
next-
check in
By
for
next Wednesday at the
tomorrow.
latest.
Yeah.
And then we'll be kind of 2 weeks out and can start getting the press release out.
And can I send this back to you too after I think it's
Mhm.
ready and,
I may want to run it past Sarah Carey just because as much as I feel like I know about 830G, she's
great idea.
next level. So I just want to make sure, we're not saying anything inaccurate. Like there was one part in there where you were talking about, I don't know, it goes to the
Authors
state
proof. Yeah,
and it's like, well, it doesn't actually go to the state, it goes to the court. So I just, I want to make sure we're not saying
things
things
that aren't true.
that aren't quite true,
Darn.
because I can imagine that
Yeah, she's a great,
there are
She's-
developers that may, take parts of this and
Absolutely.
use it against us at Planning and Zoning Commission at some point. So it's accurate.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, so once Hillary and I have had, a final overlook, we'll get it past Sarah and then figure out how to get it up. Okay, do you guys want to move on to the public meeting plan? So we did have our, just start the conversation, we did have our Planning and Zoning Commission public workshop last week, maybe Tuesday, I don't remember what day, at the Lapham Center. And I think it went really well, and I think the space worked well, and they did a similar style meeting as what we're talking about, which was about 30-ish minutes of a presentation about the changes we're making to the zoning regulations for the commercial zones, a 15-minute break that mostly took place in the lobby. There was a platter of cookies, some coffee or tea, minor water bottles of water, some refreshments out there. So people had a break. I think I will, during the presentation, or whoever's helping with the presentation, encourage people that during that 15-minute break after the presentation, before we get into small groups, if you have specific questions, like if you have specific architecture questions and you want to go deeper on the schemes, because again, I'm not going to be able to go that deep in a 30-minute presentation on these schemes. Here's Miles and Jeremy, go find them during the break, and whether they stay in the room or whether, find the people that you want to talk to during the break to ask questions, but otherwise there's coffee and tea. And then we came back for about 45 minutes and sat in small groups. So from what I understand, we'll have to set up the room ourselves. So the meeting will start at 7, whoever can will probably meet at 6 or so in the room just to get it all set up, get the technology set up. Still working on the refreshment piece, although it seems hopeful that planning will find some money somewhere to get us cookies. And then the other thing about the room I realized is, so there is a big television. I've not been to a Parks and Rec meeting in that room, so those of you have probably know this already. There's like a big television screen, like one of these that has a computer attached to it. So there was a PowerPoint, they had that at the front of the room, and they did a PowerPoint presentation on that for the 30 minutes. That has a TV or like a video monitor on it, so that you could use it for Zoom. It's going to show, just like our Zoom, when I share my screen, it's going to show the presentation that's on screen, so it's not going to share the room. We did not use Zoom at all or record the presentation part at our planning and zoning meeting.
Yeah, I don't think we should.
The only thought I had was I'd like to have a recording of the presentation so that people could watch it later, not necessarily because I want people on Zoom asking questions or any sort of interaction.
So
It's
we
more just
could separately do
record it.
you can do depending on what it's in, you can do a recording with moving a presentation
Yeah,
and put that online, and that will present, then you can redo a piece if you're not happy
Yeah,
with
that's
it.
true.
That will present better.
okay.
But it also just allows you to control
Polish.
the room a little bit more.
Yeah.
One comment my wife had is the printed materials there weren't enough for everybody, which she kind of just found confusing. But if we can try and print, then I can take that on if need be.
Okay. Record separate. All right, so then I think based on Chris's recommendation, I just don't think Zoom is going to be the right technology for this space, and planning and zoning didn't use it. I think it adds another element to manage during the meeting, and I just think that it's too much. So I agree. Let's figure out a way, whether it's one of us making an audio recording to go with the PowerPoint that can go on the website afterwards, but we'll figure out some way to get the presentation recorded for people to view after the fact. Because I hope that the presentation is helpful to those who want to complete the survey. So the point will be that here's a piece of information to enhance your knowledge before we ask you to complete the survey.
I mean, there is, and Board of Ed only records on YouTube. There's no Zoom option to watch. I mean, you can watch it on channel 79, which is another question if you want to show it live on 79. And then I think Bob uploads it to you. I'm not
Yes,
quite
there's
sure.
this channel 79 YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, and that's how the Board of Ed recordings go on, and every other meeting is pretty much by Zoom. Every other town government meeting, but Board of Ed as it does not have Zoom. I think unless you're a Board of Ed member. So there's a way to record if we wanted to. I don't know.
I think let's just not that
Okay.
night and do it separately.
Yeah.
I think that'll also probably result in a better recording, hopefully. I mean, can't promise you May 19th will be my peak performance. Maybe it will be.
Well,
Okay.
regardless, the PowerPoint will be uploaded to our,
Right.
so that might suffice. I mean, I don't know that you have to do a voiceover. If you're
You can-
providing the PowerPoint,
Yeah.
It is an option, that's all I'm saying.
yeah.
Well, we can decide. We don't have to
Yeah,
decide that
yeah,
right now, but I just
totally.
think in terms of room setup for that night, we'll have the big TV with, as a monitor. We can have the presentation up there for the speaking portion. And then we can have tables around the room with chairs. One of the things I did observe in the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting was, I don't know how many tables we had, maybe 6 or 8. We wanted, similar to what we're trying to do here, 6 to 8 tables with 6 to 8 people each at each table. You don't want a huge group because it's just harder to manage and harder to capture. And at least the table I was at, another table like joined our table. So we had a pretty big group. So I think to the extent we can, we should discourage that. And, probably each one of us will be
Each
at a
one of
different
us will
table.
take a table.
We'll take a table.
Yeah.
And I mean, manage is kind of a loose term. You'll see in the presentation, I have a list of things for the people at each table to think about during the small group time. We asked at the beginning at those tables, and I would expect that we'll do the same in our meeting, for each table to have a recorder, somebody to take notes, like we had the big sticky Post-it note boards, someone to take some notes on there, and somebody, either that person or someone else in the group, to offer to report back to the group.
These were the items that the group discussed or brought up.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what we discussed.
In
It's
3 to 5 minutes
It's
each.
a typical breakout.
Typical
report.
breakout thing, just gives everybody in the room a sense of what each group talked about, so that, if someone talked about something they didn't, they know that that was a topic of conversation. And it
And if
gives,
you're gonna manage the meeting, just stress that we're not looking for speeches. We're looking for a report out. Just,
I guess, my wife thought that worked well.
yeah, I
at
thought
your
it worked well.
meeting.
Nobody kind of
Nobody,
grandstanded.
people took the mandate seriously.
Well, and I think people, by that point, you've been there for an hour and a half, they want to go home. Like, who wants to talk for another 20 minutes? Like, just wrap it up. So I thought the format worked well. I thought the room worked well. So I think we're in good hands there.
How do you want to handle the breakout group? So, one of us will be at each table. Would we be the note taker and then sort of report, or is it better to have one of the groups that is more? public
So I think we
participation?
should view, ideally, our role at the table being sort of the facilitator, helping people understand what we're talking about, moderating, giving information when it's incorrect, that type of thing, and really encourage the people at the table to take responsibility for someone taking notes and someone. I ended up being the note taker at my table because, people are kind of nervous and intimidated, and I'm, so I did the notes, and then somebody else did agree to go up and report back. And, worst case scenario, if you just can't get your group to do it, then just do the best you can, right? Like, a couple of groups didn't even write on their note paper, and they just went up and talked off their head. If your group would prefer to do that, I think that's fine too. It's just whatever helps your group. But yeah, I think we should try and keep our role as facilitators and encourage the public to participate in that way.
And our biggest job as facilitators is to get that scribe and the report out person.
And keep people from
And keep
fighting.
people from fighting.
Here you go, Jane.
Answer the question.
Yeah, so let's get the presentation up on the screen. I'm feeling lucky tonight with my tech skills. So I have talked myself, I've given the presentation to myself, to Chris's point of, I haven't recorded it, obviously, but you are sharing your screen. Okay. And it took me about 30 minutes. We don't have to decide this right now. I think it would be good and probably a more interesting presentation if some of us took different parts of it, so that I can handle whatever parts you guys don't want to do, but I don't need it to be the Krista Nielsen show, and I'm not sure it should be the Krista Nielsen show. So as we go through this, think about what interests you or what parts you think you may be capable of handling. So this would just be up when everyone comes in the room. This is the black and white photo gallery of Canaan Parish that I'll share. So, we'll start by just letting everyone understand the agenda for the evening. I've already kind of told you the deal, hopefully a 30-ish minute presentation, 15-minute break, 45 minutes in the small groups, 30 minutes reporting back, next steps and Q&A, and hopefully we have everyone out in 2 hours. That's the game plan. So we'll start by introducing ourselves. I mean, I wasn't really going to go around and each say our names just for the sake of time, but just explain that we are a group of 9 volunteers on the town's Affordable Housing Committee, and that we have a specific mandate to develop scenarios for successive moratoria under 830G and measure public support for each of them. Point out that there is this sort of cross-body pollination with different parts of our government. Let people know how they can contact us. The email address does come up again at the end. And then also point out Miles and Jeremy, who I think will be there from Memento Emma, as the go-to people if you want to, ask some deeper questions about the schemes during the break or at any point in the meeting, that those are the guys. Yeah, go ahead.
Would it make sense to stay right up top there? I mean, this is who we are and who we aren't, in case people.
Well,
do
it's on,
show
it's
up.
kind of on the next
Yeah.
page.
We'll get
Oh,
there in
okay,
1
okay.
second.
Disclaimers, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And just while we're talking about Miles and Jeremy being there, we can talk about this again once we see the rest of the presentation. I was not really thinking of having them present because I'm trying to keep it pretty high level, and I just don't want to go down the rabbit hole of, then there's 17 parking spaces on
Yeah,
the floor.
I think we should be presenting.
Yeah, okay.
as
If you guys feel differently, let me know. But my thought was they're great if people really want to understand those schemes, but I think at a high level, we can and probably should handle it.
I wonder if it's worth, when at the outset of the presentation, gauging how well the audience understands what 830G is and because a lot of this is background stuff that, like, the point of the meeting is really to get feedback on the proposals. And so I worry that we get mired down in, like, what's the Hugh point, that, like, too much background, that there might be an assumption that people have looked at some of the background and understand at least enough about 830G. No?
Anytime I have a conversation
Yeah.
about
Even
affordable
people who
housing
think they
in a
know.
group of 5+ people, I am shocked by how little.
Okay.
I mean, I was thinking a couple of slides further, I'll point it out to you that I was going to ask the room how many people are familiar or aware of 830G, just to kind of gauge
Yeah.
how much I need to go into anything in more depth. I suspect everyone's going to say they've heard of 830G, right? I mean, at this point, with all of that the town has been through, I'd be surprised if somebody's like, I've never heard of it.
But
They don't
it's
know.
remarkable, to your point, how the smartest people in town.
The people who've been here forever, who are very smart,
You know.
have no idea.
And their response is, why don't we just hire the best lawyers in the world?
And refuse to go along.
Right.
Why are we doing this? Because, just no one has ever.
And you say, that's not a bad idea, but.
You're like, my bill rate is $700 an hour.
That's
for
where we
830G.
started.
I just think it's helpful to gauge because
Yeah.
it's like the people who might be coming to this are highly motivated and might
Yeah,
have some
yeah.
background in it, or, like, I don't know. I would just keep that part pretty high. Like, this is and I
I'll be
think,
pleasantly
why don't
surprised
we-
if that's true, but.
yeah, but to answer the question, why don't we hire the best lawyers? Like, the town has decided that this is the strategy that we're pursuing as of now,
Also,
and that's
yeah.
above our pay grade. Like, that
I'm not
decision.
using it as an example.
Yeah, no,
People are
no.
dismissive of it.
Well, so I think that's
Yeah.
the Greenwich.
We gotta
strategy,
fight like
right?
hell. Yeah, it
What?
doesn't make
Hire
any
the
And
sense.
we
attorneys?
did, and we lost.
Yeah,
And now we're
and-
staring down the barrel of
Working
a,
with
like,
developers.
of a city.
As you do
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
I think
832
if they
world.
Get stuck in an 830G,
Okay.
rather than trying to
Deny.
try to get a moratorium or get to 10%. I think that's their strategy.
Yeah, that's where it
That's the
gets, like,
Greenwich
very,
strategy. Yeah, I know. This is complicated.
It is complicated. So
People
one of
can
the
have
pieces.
opinions about the sites, very informed opinions about the sites, without having any idea what 830G is about.
So
Correct.
My worry about just getting to the projects is people will say, well, why would we do any of this?
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
All right, well,
I'm a
let's-
no to all of it.
yeah.
yeah. Let's go through this and you guys tell me, where have I gone too deep? Where have I not gone deep enough? But I try to cover a little bit of everything in the presentation.
Yeah.
So right up front, after we explain who we are and what the agenda is, I want to tell people why they're there. I want to talk about, 3 things I want people to come away with from the meeting with tonight. I want them to understand the predicament that New Canaan is in with affordable housing and why we're in that predicament. I want them to understand the work that the committee has done so far, and I want to obtain their feedback on the sites and the evaluation criteria. I also want to give disclaimers that the meeting is not about ongoing litigation or pending 830G applications. I want to say up front, or at least I thought we should, that all sites are parking lots, but we are not talking about reducing parking in town. If there are other disclaimers you think I should give up front so that people who come with, different intentions understand what they will and won't get. And I mean, I can say, I was going to say, if you came because you think this is about ongoing 830G litigation or applications, feel free to find one of us during the break and we can try and point you in the right direction, but we're not going to be talking about that in this meeting.
I wonder, well, maybe.
Should we
this
add
is-
negotiation around 830G projects just because that's the subject
Litigation
of
or
the-
negotiation.
I
Okay.
think you could even say Weed and Elm. Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Braid Hill, I mean.
Well, Parade Hill's
It's
not.
not any, I mean, it's a different category, but,
Well, it's a pending 830G application, isn't it?
It's a litigation, but you might want to.
Assistant- I mean, it's
Oh, Parade Hill.
Parade
Parade
It is
Hill.
a pending application, yeah. And it probably still will be by May 19th because we just extended it through.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah, okay.
I don't know the right answer to that.
Well,
I think of it as different, but that could be wrong.
do we want to say right up front that we focused on town-owned property? Or do you want to wait till later to say that?
I get a little later in the
Okay.
presentation where I talk about how we selected these sites.
So parking lots is to,
Just like the people that
Just
come in
staff.
like, oh, can't get
Yeah,
into parking.
we don't have enough parking.
right,
I just we're not gonna scream about that yet. We've hopefully addressed this.
Parking mob.
All right, so then we start to get into background. I will point out that we had the frequently asked questions available on the website. We'll have them as handouts in the room. But I have 2 kind of background sections. The first one is about affordable housing. The second one is about the work we've done. So in this section, what is affordable housing? Why is it important? Why is it necessary? 830G, moratoria, and our strategy.
80%, 60%.
I hope not.
Oh, yeah. All right, so me and my friend Claude made this slide about what is affordable housing, where I'm going to talk about these slides. Actually, some of them came from the presentation I was going to do at the library that ended up getting canceled. But explain what capital A affordable housing is. That there is a legal definition that it's no more than 30% of someone's monthly income, that they have to be less than 80% of the median income, and that there's a difference between state median income and area median income. And here in New Canaan, we have to use state median income, which is $60,000. My number was a little different than yours. I need to update this. $60,000-ish a year. I think yours is probably more accurate coming from Sarah. And that, we recognize that in doing this type of work, there's still a big gap between what is constituting affordable and what is market rate in New Canaan. And we understand that's a problem, but our focus for now is solely on helping building units for those that are 80% of median income or below.
So do we need to go through is it enough to provide this information and just say, for our purposes of what's affordable here has to be at,
a family of,
Well, this one slide shows one person, but yeah.
my only question about the vast gap in New Canaan, do we have any affordable that's for sale? Like, would we?
Well, we might at Bertus.
Bertus is for sale.
Okay, I just wonder if it makes more sense to correlate it to rents here
Rent.
instead of home sales, because right now, and probably by May 19th, we're not gonna have.
Right.
So I get that comparison, but what
I-
we're talking about is.
The values are gonna be more relevant to most, I don't know that the average New Canaan resident knows how much a New Canaan two-bedroom apartment goes for. But they'll have a sense what houses go for, because we have a lot more homeowners than renters.
And yeah, I just don't know if we need to go into SMI versus AMI. If AMI doesn't apply, because it begs the question, why aren't we? I don't know. I just think.
The only, and maybe this is where maybe I know too much and I'm getting bogged down in it myself, but the 30 Parade Hill application is coming in with AMI numbers and not SMI numbers. So people who are familiar with that might be like, but
I don't think.
I think that's a specific
think that's-
subset.
I think that's way too in the weeds.
Okay.
Like to go through that, that's a question. That's something that we've proposed to the legislature to change, right? It should be area median income, but the fact is, right now, we have to provide based
So
on.
we'll just
state
talk
median
about
income.
SMI.
Yeah, and I feel like that's gonna,
Should we clarify that, big A affordable versus little A affordable?
Yeah, so that, I'm trying to find my notes.
Which might be the replacement for SMI versus AMI in the slide.
Well, I mean, what big A affordable and lowercase a affordable, I mean, I was
So,
thinking lowercase a affordable is like common parlance, like it's
Yeah.
contextual and subjective, like this Bentley is affordable to me
well,
and for you a Toyota's affordable, like.
no, I'm more thinking that, affordable under 830G is very definitional. It's very specific. It's 40-year deed restricted,
Right, I forgot those
minimum
parts.
of 40-year deed restricted,
So
at
here's what I
at
have
the
as my
level
bullet
of-
points. I couldn't bring up my notes earlier. Cost less than 30%. Usually government subsidized and or deed restricted for 40 years in Connecticut, provided to people who make less than 80% of median income. And here I'll just say, and in New Canaan, we're talking about 80% of state median income. And on the slide, I can
So you're
just,
trying to distinguish between, section 8?
No, I'm really,
I think it
Affordable
comes-
housing,
like,
small
so
A.
many people in town always say, well, why don't we want housing for our teachers and firefighters and police? But the truth is, they make too much
They
to
make too
qualify
But-
for the
and
big A affordable.
that's almost a
housing.
separate point, but
Yeah.
it used to be, and I don't think this is true anymore. There used to be one bedrooms at Heritage Hill
Mhm.
for $1,500, which would be affordable. They were similar rents as 830G apartments, but not affordable because they're not deed restricted and the rents are set at market, not set relative to somebody's income. It's understanding that affordable is a legal definition here, not your, dictionary definition or general understanding of affordability.
I think I would go to the level of saying exactly that. Affordable with a capital A is a legal
Legal
definition,
definition.
and if you want the details, we can provide them to you, but in New Canaan, that means a family of four making $90,000 could qualify,
Yeah,
and an individual making 60 whatever a
Mhm.
year could qualify,
I think that, yeah,
and period, because
Full stop.
yeah,
Okay.
just keep it high level.
yeah.
by the way, I think those numbers are very helpful because I don't think that's what people picture when they picture who's living in affordable housing.
yeah, I did want to
Yeah.
put the numbers up. just
Yeah,
so
I
people
think it's
know.
very helpful.
Yeah.
I think it's very helpful.
I would just stay away from things like state median
Yeah,
income.
me too.
Like AMI, I think the numbers are what
What people care about.
people can take in, but if you start saying mean, median, like,
And even
you
the
know,
40-year versus all that, just,
Okay.
yeah, people can absorb it.
The housing authority, it's working families, people
Yeah,
struggling to get by and they're making good income, but
yeah.
Yeah,
barely making it to live there.
By the way, there are people working at the board, for the schools who would qualify, who do qualify.
yeah, I just meant generally, like,
Yeah,
but typically,
I mean, not a teacher,
right,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
Not a fireman,
a lot
not
of
a
people, they
policeman,
spend all day with their kids.
not a town.
Oh, yeah.
worker.
okay, well, that might affect my next slide, which is why it's important. And this just was going to get more to, these are the people that serve our community that would be living here.
I had first-year teachers, firefighters, childcare workers, and seniors. That might not be the right demographic.
First-year teachers could be true.
Yeah, I think it could be true.
And, that this diversity of age and socioeconomic levels creates a more stable community. It allows people to live where they work, and it allows people to age in place or return to their hometown. And then we get into why is affordable housing necessary? So I kind of start with like, this is why it's important, but here's why this is
By
why
the way,
we
you
have
might
to
not
do.
make them all white. You
Yeah.
Make them all some color that's not recognized.
Oh, on this
You know what I
slide.
mean?
Well, that was AI, but I can try and tell it to do
Tell
some.
Claude.
Tell Claude to be
Give me
more
some
racially
diversity there,
diverse.
Claude.
Yeah.
Slide
Work with me, Claude.
diverse.
Generally, Claude did a nice job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
Claude does some good work. And Notebook LM.
How many versions did you do with Claude?
Oh, I made this myself, just some of the graphics I used
Yeah, no,
AI
good.
for. But yeah, no, I didn't ask AI to make the presentation.
No, it's very good.
Presentation was mine. All right,
It looks
so
like, by the way, sorry to interrupt, but it looks like a first year teacher here, the lowest they make is $70,000. So they would probably not qualify for it.
And the number we're at is
60
69.
for one person.
Are you sure?
I mean, I guess it depends how many people are in their
She had to move
family.
out.
and
She
the other
just
incomes.
have to move out pretty quickly.
Yeah, it does depend on how many people. in
You know,
there.
if they have two
Oh, yeah, I'm
kids.
thinking, no, I'm just thinking a single person.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not absolutely,
Yeah.
it's
Anyway.
unlikely, but it's not
Yeah.
absolutely true.
All right, so then we get into why it's necessary and we talk about 830G, and I was just gonna, again, try and stay at a high level that 830G is a statute in the state of Connecticut whereby communities that don't have more than 10% of their housing as affordable are subject to developers proposing projects that bypass local zoning, and that kind of usurps our local control. There is an opportunity for communities to obtain what's called a moratorium, more specifically a certificate of affordable housing completion, which allows us to stop that bypass process for 4 years. To do so, we have to build enough units to claim a certain number of housing unit equivalency points. These are called HUE points. And the number New Canaan needs is about, I think this is a little wrong, I think it's 151 or so, but 150
I
points.
think it's 150.5, but
Yeah,
we
it's
could-
somewhere right in here,
certainly,
So,
but I can fix the number.
yeah.
so when you describe the pressure of the law,
Mhm.
I don't think everybody in the room is going to understand what kind of zoning implications could there be. And something's just very simple, like dramatically increasing
Setbacks,
the
heights,
density or the height.
density.
Yes, so this actually, to Hillary's question earlier, was where I was going to say, how many people in the room are familiar with 830G? Here's what it is, and you probably have heard about this with Whedon.
I like this slide a lot. I think we gotta feed a little spinach in this, and you gotta get into the details. And I think this does it at a level that's digestible.
Okay.
But it's fiendishly complicated.
It is.
And 150 is, sounds anything that's pending now. This is just working off of the.
This is just
More-
generic, yeah, if we needed to
Essentially,
start from scratch. And I was gonna say that that's approximately 60 to 75 units, that the HUE points depend on whether they're rental or owner, what level of affordability we're talking about, below 80%, but it could be 60 or 40, and how many bedrooms. So that's why it's not an exact formula that you need X number of units, because it varies based on those variables.
So we have 7,502.
Housing units, so we need
Housing
750 to get to 10%. And I
So
think
it's
Shane's saying
550.04 to be exact. Call it 150.04.
150.04 is the HUE point.
That is the very
Four
exact,
hundred
but you,
fifty-two more affordable units will be required to reach the state 10% requirement.
Right,
That's what Sarah said.
yeah, I think that's
yeah,
right.
that's right.
Where's my next slide? So then I'm going to talk about our moratorium strategy. Given the challenges of 830G, New Canaan has really embraced this moratorium option. We've had two moratoriums. We're in our second moratorium right now, which exists through 2028. The town has a plan, the Affordable Housing Committee and the town have a plan for another moratorium in 2028 that will get us through 2032. And I've shown here where those units will come from, which are some that are already built and some that would be converted at the newly acquired Riverwood. And so what we're here to talk about tonight is making a plan for 2032. And I recognize that that sounds far away, but in the world of affordable housing development, we're right on time and we need to
Because
keep
it
it.
has to be developed before we apply for the moratorium. It has to be
Correct.
built
The units
before-
have to be
Yeah.
by 2032.
Can we add points after Q? Yeah, so.
Oh, yeah.
74 Q points.
Slide 9, Q points.
Krista?
Yeah.
I just want to go back to the slide, the eat your vegetables slide, which I also love. I think you have to go really quickly through this.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how. I don't know what the top level is so that people can move on to the next thing. The next thing is really easy to understand. And I'm worried that people could get lost if they don't already understand what 830G is. It's just hard. All the words are so unhelpful.
Unfamiliar, yeah.
Moratorium and
Maybe you say at
830G.
the end, if you have more questions on this,
Yeah, we know it's
come see one of
complicated.
us
Yeah.
at the break, and we're happy to go through it. in
We'll
more
walk you through
detail.
it.
Yes,
Yeah.
it would.
It's
Really,
fiendishly
top level,
complicated.
it is
It just
so
is.
Yeah, I mean, but I think you can narrow down, like, I don't think we need to identify a certificate of affordable housing completion. Like, I don't take those words. I think you can take those words out because it's just,
Well,
they don't need to know what the
Moratorium.
actual name of the document is that we get issued.
you mean I just don't have to say that?
No, and it doesn't need to be, this looks like a lot of words
Okay.
and it is fiendishly complicated. So to the extent we can simplify it at all by removing some, like, I don't know that it's important to know that it's called a certificate of housing completion.
Okay.
Everybody will have this in a printed form.
Right,
Even if I
it's
in the
pay for it
FAQs.
Myself, everybody will have this on
Yeah.
Yeah.
a printed document at their table.
And I'm not even sure you have to go into Hugh points, is I guess what I'm saying.
Well, but I kind of do if I'm going to talk
I think
about
you
the
do.
moratorium strategy.
I would take out, but I think you can take out more points are awarded for units serving lower income families. Like, we
Yeah, I mean,
need
this
2%.
is-
It needs to be roughly 2%. Like.
I can simplify this. This is what
yeah, I would just
AI
like.
spit out at me and
would
I just,
like, what are
copied and
what are
pasted.
the critical words?
but
that-
I'll remake this and take out
But I think
all
this
of
is
the small
Yeah,
text.
I mean, it's
I
a
love
great
how this
slide, but I
looks.
think you
It's
just,
a
It's a
great
great
slide.
when
slide.
you talk about it,
Yeah,
top level.
Okay.
yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I think you're right. I can redo this in a simpler way. AI gave me a good template and I
Yeah,
will
no,
improve.
It's great.
It's a great slide.
Yeah, I'd still use the term of art, the words that are term of art, because people will know these terms and at least if we define our terms as we go along, it'll help the conversation, but I think just have to be careful that you don't, that people don't ask questions, you can spend an hour and then one of those
Right.
slides.
Yes, you could.
Well, so, and I mean, maybe I should say this up front. I don't intend to take questions, or I don't think we should intend to take questions during this presentation. If you have questions, find us during the break and we're happy to go over any more of this in detail. But
Yeah.
this is, I think if we open the floor to questions, or even if, I mean, we have this sometimes in planning, and we had this last night in planning and zoning, where people just start like shouting out from the back row. And I think we just have to be like, we're so sorry. There's so much material to cover here. We can't stop and take questions right now.
Just Set the table to why we're here.
You're right. You know,
Yes.
please
Well
see me
put.
after the break or during the break and we'll have that conversation, but I just can't do this right now. Otherwise we'll be here till tomorrow morning. Okay. And then the next section on background is just about what we've been doing and how we got to the place we are now, which is we've been meeting since 2024. Probably for the first year, we spent time at each meeting having speakers, learning from other experts about how their communities or other communities in Connecticut have been dealing with the challenges of 830G. We really narrowed it down to two approaches in New Canaan: town construction of affordable housing and scatter site acquisition of smaller units. And then we created the project development subcommittee to further explore the first option. And the subcommittee started off with, I know the map is basically illegible on a slide of this size, but the point is we worked with the town's GIS staff to map all of the parcels in town that are town-owned, state-owned, and over 5 acres. And we had the GIS staff basically give points to each property based on some criteria, which were, is it publicly owned, which would allow us to develop on it quicker? Does it have access to sewer, which is important just to make a project feasible? Is it walkable to downtown, transportation, other amenities? Did it have the potential for adequate parking, the potential for mixed use? And did it have minimal impacts on public services and natural resources? Things like, did it have wetlands on site or steep slopes? Those got discounted points in our
I
process.
think you can take your ellipse, your walkability to ellipse out, ...
Okay, just list
think
those
it's just-
things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because amenity sort of covers what would be covered by.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Okay,
I'm gonna have to run, but
okay.
Do you think we should say public ownership or town ownership? And it's probably the
Probably
same thing, but I feel
Town
like,
ownership.
yeah.
what would the other?
Well,
It
state,
says public ownership, which.
well, because
I
we
just-
did look, I mean, we look at town-owned and state-owned property.
Oh, okay.
By the way, Westport told the story of how they negotiated for a year with the state to buy a piece of property to do affordable housing, and then the state changed their mind.
Wow. That's not good.
Well, that's what happened kind of with our moratorium application when a new DOH
Yeah.
commissioner came in and all of a sudden it was denied, like
Yeah.
twice, right?
Right.
They reinterpreted the statute.
Yeah.
Who did you say, when you said, and we worked with?
Oh, our town's GIS consultant.
I don't think
What
anybody
is
knows.
GIS?
GIS is
I don't know what that is.
ownership, maps the ownership.
They
of all
handle the
parcels.
mapping.
Okay,
the
maybe
parcel.
just say the
Okay.
town
Yeah,
people who handle the
I don't even
mapping.
know what GIS is or stands for.
New
Geographic
Canaan GIS
Information
map
System.
is Fabulous. You should, it's online. You should look it up.
Yeah, it is good.
Fabulous.
Yeah, no, it's good. I just don't, I think when you say
Well,
we
they'll
work
know
with our
it's what-
GIS staff, people are.
It's-
I'll just say we worked with town staff.
Oh, I thought you said it's a time bomb. Okay. Don't leave now.
I know.
Okay.
Okay, so yes, I'll just clarify that it was town staff we worked with to do
Yeah.
this mapping
Yeah.
exercise. And at the end of the mapping exercise, we had 7 sites that rose for further evaluation by our committee. Not surprisingly, most of them were parking lots in the downtown core. And so we spent some time looking at each of those. In the parentheses after each parking lot, you see the number of points that each one got, so you can kind of see why the ones at the top are at the top. And after further exploring all 7, we still came up with the top 3 as the ones that we wanted to work with an architecture firm, which is Amenta Emma, to study further. And that gets us to the sites. Do you have a
And then
comment?
Morse Court ends up in the,
Yeah, I was gonna say that we started with 3 and then now we're at 4.
and how do we jump to number 6 and jump right over?
I mean, I think there's a
Without
very,
creating
if
more
somebody says,
problems.
Yeah.
why did we knock them out? Like the mulch pile, it's deed restricted
Restricted.
and doesn't have access to town sewer and water. Playhouse and Park Street lot, I don't remember why we nixed those. I
I
think
mean-
the municipal lot at Pine and Park, there's a state-owned piece.
Yeah,
of it
state
that we
owned.
would need to negotiate with the
The
state.
state.
I just
Right.
can't remember why Playhouse and Park Street. I think,
I think it was just tight and complicated, given its location.
yeah.
And I don't feel like we have to necessarily
I would just
affirmatively
have that.
justify, but
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
we
but
should
people
generally
will-
know if people come up to
will,
us and say, but
I-
hey, this was a great site.
And why did we resurrect Morse Court?
Well, so I'll get to that when
Good.
we talk about, all right, so we ended up with 3 sites. We did end up putting back in a 4th, which is Morse Court, and we'll talk about why in a minute. This is a map overview of them. I don't know, like, will people know when I say Richmond Hill parking lot, Locust Ave? Like, do I need to say, okay, so Richmond Hill parking lot is at the intersection of Park Street and Richmond Hill, across the street from the View, adjacent to Mead Park. It's currently a commuter parking lot with 64 parking spaces that's moderately used by train commuters.
Yep. And I don't think people mostly know the name Morse Court, honestly.
I don't think people know lumberyard. I mean, when I say it's
Train
where you
station.
park at the train
Yeah.
station, but yeah, so I was gonna here just give a little explanation of where they each are. I find some people orient very well to maps and some people are like, what town am I? Like, where is this map? So I'll just try and explain where each of them are quickly. And then jump into each of them. So for each site, I did one slide where I kind of give an overview of the site, what made it a good option in our opinion. You know, a little bit more detail. So for instance, Richmond Hill, you know, this was a great site because we're doing residential development and this is in a primarily residential neighborhood. It's very close to the train station, to downtown, to Mead Park. This site, like many of them, has a topographic change that makes it easier for us to hide some of the parking that will need to be done. And this site, like several, also has multiple street frontages, which will allow hopefully better distribution of traffic into and out of the site. And so we asked Emma to look at it, and here are some options that they came up with for Richmond Hill. One is just a big multifamily building. The other is more of a townhouse style development. But ultimately what we determined is that Richmond Hill can only support between 18 and 20 units in addition to the 67 existing parking spaces and the 20 to 22 parking spaces needed for the residents.
If should we explain that these are
Yes, block.
schemes where we asked, and we also asked Emma to maximize the number of
Yeah.
units we could get on.
Let me preface that with.
And yeah, and just that this is like not
I was gonna
final,
explain,
this is
like, this
not,
is like Lego blocks. This is us
Yeah.
taking Lego blocks and
Yeah.
seeing what could fit on the site. We're not
And
Yeah.
also
targeting brutalist architecture.
these Lego blocks represent other buildings.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And
How does
also,
it
I guess
go?
I should, you know, this is a 3 to 4 story building, depending on the location on the site.
But I do think it's important to preface it as like,
Yes.
we asked them to maximize the number of units.
Mhm.
So this is not, you know, this is just to give you an idea of what it,
And that's why I wanted to
Okay.
kind of go through these quickly, and you'll see for each one, I've just kind of
Yep.
mashed them up on there, like it could be this or it could be this, but here's the conclusion. The conclusion is it's 18 to 20 units with approximately 80 parking spaces. You know, it's a small site, it can't be phased, so the entire site would have to be relocated during construction. And the big break news is that this isn't enough for a moratorium. So when we realized that Richmond Hill, what we liked about it is that it's a smaller scale site, but when we realized it's not enough for a moratorium, we decided to add back in Morse Court, just for a quick look to see if we could maybe do 2 smaller sites at once to get us to that moratorium. Morse Court, great downtown location, right at a key entrance into the town, could be an excellent counterpart to Richmond Hill if the town wanted to do smaller site developments to meet our moratorium goals. Emma also obviously looked at this one because this was an after the fact ask. We don't have quite the same schemes or drawings for this, but the short conclusion was that we can carry about 30 units on this site, and keeping the existing parking means that the first 2 floors of that building would be parking, which is not ideal for an active pedestrian streetscape. It's hard to hide the parking on this site because we don't have the topographic change. So ultimately, you know, even Morse Court and Richmond Hill together, unfortunately, wouldn't get us to a moratorium unless we had other hue points coming in from other developments in town. And I think my conclusion is that these smaller sites would work better if we could offload the existing parking elsewhere, and then you could really do a nice mixed use development with ground floor commercial and upper story residential on these sites. Doesn't mean they're out, it just means
Yeah.
that's what we're thinking.
does it make sense, and this is just a general matter, to flip so that it goes from largest development where we could phase it in and like meet the hue points that we need immediately to the smaller ones that don't get us necessarily where we need? I always feel like you lead with your sort of strongest candidate.
Okay.
So I don't know what you guys think about it,
I'm fine either.
It's up to you.
I think
It's just it's just
Either
a
way.
strategic thought, just to say, okay, like lumberyard is obviously our biggest potential. It's probably the third rail, but like we could phase it in. We have a couple of different options. This development would meet our Hugh Point. Boom. Locust would, and these are the two schemes. Obviously, it's a traffic issue. And then we looked at these two smaller ones. Now there's a possibility of combining these two smaller ones if we get Hugh Points from somewhere else, or if we combined it with Locust or something along,
Mhm.
those lines. But sometimes I feel like, none of them are perfect, but I don't know.
Oh, I like
Think
that.
about that.
I like
Think about
that.
that strategy. I was always taught to like lead with your strongest argument first.
Okay.
People think you want to wrap up with it, but by the time you get down there, it's like,
Well,
Um,
and maybe people will be relieved to see a Morse Court in Richmond Hill after seeing a Locust or a
Yeah.
lumberyard.
And I think, yeah, and I think that might be true. I don't know, just consider it.
Yeah.
Because I think it works either way. I just,
Okay.
yeah, consider flipping that. But anyway, go ahead.
So the next site we looked at was Locust Avenue. This site, like Richmond Hill, has topographic change that would help us hopefully hide some of the deck parking. It also has multiple street frontages on Heritage Hill and on Locust Avenue. Again, it's right in the heart of downtown, walkable to the train station. It's a slightly bigger site. Obviously, if I did it the reverse order, it's a slightly smaller site, depending on which one I just said, that can carry more development than the last two we discussed. So Amenta Emma, this one to me really screams that Amenta Emma worked on maxing out the site.
Yeah.
And so this site, if we really max it out, could hold between 74 and 89 units. And that would help us obtain a moratorium. That would get us a full moratorium in 2032. It would be probably the densest residential development in New Canaan if we were to do it at this level to maintain a moratorium. It also includes the parking deck for somewhere between 234 and 263 spaces. We found with this site that it's kind of hard to hide a parking deck of that size in a site right in the heart of downtown that has properties on all sides of it. So we tried a couple of different configurations. The first one on the top left shows the parking garage facing east to the post office parking lot. The second one on the top right shows the parking garage facing north and east, so it'd be visible from the New Heritage Houston Lane project and also the post office parking lot. And then third option we suggested was, well, what if we put the parking garage in the middle and wrapped it with residential so that nobody really has a view of it? And that's that option. Even though this site does have two abutting roads and two options for ingress and egress, they all dump out basically at the same intersection, which is already a pretty highly trafficked intersection in town. So we recognize that this site in particular might have some traffic issues associated with it, and we are concerned about that and aware of it. And then lastly, we looked at the lumberyard site. Again, like the other two, has the topographic change, high on Elm Street, lower at the train tracks. Obviously, again, right in the heart of downtown, walkable to pretty much everything. It's the biggest site, could handle the most substantial development. And I wanted to draw that in on this one. It allows for ingress and egress, multiple locations. Right now, we have ingress and egress in between what I call the Board of Education building and the former Bank of America. You can also access the site across from Walter Stewart's and Carl Chevrolet. But the town, I wanted to draw this on here, the town also has access off of Grove Street. So
Which was specifically purchased within keeping the provision of access that was set at the time.
right. Yeah, so I'm going to draw Grove Street
Yeah,
in on
yeah,
here so
yeah,
that
I
I
think
can
that's-
point
I
it
see
out.
it, I think, on the third one at least, the one on. Oh, wait, sorry, I'm on the scheme.
Oh, yeah, on the
It-
schemes.
yeah, I
Yeah, they
see
drew
it.
it on the
Okay,
schemes,
yeah.
but it's not on the
it.
map, but I want to just
Okay.
point out that there's multiple options. So as the biggest site, this could provide us with units for more than one moratorium, possibly up to two moratoriums. Based on the scheme, it can provide anywhere between 128 and 165 units with a 500 car parking deck that would be both for commuters and for the residences. because it's a large site, one advantage is that things can be phased on this site. The town could conceivably build the 500-car parking deck first. Maybe have access off of Grove Street to that parking deck, depending on the location, and then come back later, or once the parking deck is operational, come back and build the residential component. So that is a nice opportunity that the site provides, is some options for phasing. But we also recognize that this site is what we would call the crown jewel of New Canaan. It's in a prime location right downtown. It's one of the biggest sites the town probably owns in this area, and that it may benefit from a more comprehensive master planning process that considers more than just affordable housing. So while the site could meet check most of our boxes, there may be a higher and better use than what we've come up with here. So as a committee, in talking about all of these sites, we realized that we were kind of coming back to the same criteria over and over. We were talking about the same things, like, does the site give us enough points for a moratorium? Do we have to acquire land? Is the massing and density of this project going to be more than the town can handle? So what we've listed here on this slide are those criteria that we found ourselves talking about over and over again. And you guys tell me what you think, but have this as a handout for people and say, you can get our thoughts on how each site ranks against these criteria in this handout. The main point I want you to take away, I know you can't read any of it on this screen, but the point is colors have meaning. Green means that it exceeds our criteria. Blue means that it met it, and red means that it doesn't. And what you can easily see from this graphic that's not legible is that there isn't one site that's all green. So what the conclusion we came to is that this is a series of trade-offs, that each site has good things and has bad things. And that's what we want your feedback on tonight, is which criteria are more important to you and which criteria are less important to you. So we'll take a break. And when we come back and get into our breakout groups, here, we'll leave this slide up, but here's what we want you to talk about in your breakout groups. So after hearing this presentation, what are your thoughts on the 3 to 4 sites we've been looking at? You can talk about the pros and cons you see of the sites, any questions or concerns, additional information you would want to try and make any sort of evaluation. And then, like I said, ultimately, site selection will involve a series of trade-offs. Which of the criteria that we've listed below are most important to you, or least important to you? Are there criteria that we haven't talked about that you want us to consider that you would add? And so this is what I would hope most people will try and talk about in the breakout groups. And then when we come back from the breakout groups, I just have one slide. Do I go back to that?
One thing, Krista, just a couple of these terms, I think when people look at them, they won't remember what they mean. Site control. It really means, do we own it, or do we?
Yeah.
Is it free? I mean, whatever, but I don't think.
So it's on the handout. If people take the handouts.
I just mean on these.
Yeah, I know.
We're
If I leave
asking
this
them
up
to-
on the slide, on the screen during the breakout groups.
If this is going to be the guide, there's some of these people, it won't mean anything.
So, this one, which I talked about prior, has more definition for what I mean by these terms. So I don't know, maybe we'll go back to this during the breakout group.
I think
that's a
that
good
would-
idea.
I think that's a good
That's
idea.
Okay.
It's just last thing you do is just put this slide back up.
Yeah,
So
I'm going to put it back up, but here's the assignment and each.
It's a big TV too, so you
It's a
might
big
even
TV.
be able to do this breakout group assignment and then like the next slide next to each other, and they both be readable
Okay.
and visible, because
Well, and I'll print this breakout group assignment for each table so that the facilitator at that table
yeah.
has this part, and then we can just leave this one
I think that
up on the screen. And if you got, obviously send me more detailed feedback if you have it about wording and whatever on these slides. And so then the thought is, after the breakout group, we come back together and everyone does their little 3 to 5 minute presentation about what they talked about. And then we'll say, okay, so, we just want to let you know quickly about the next steps in our process. We're going to have an online survey opening on this date. I don't know the date. And it'll be open until whenever. And then based on the feedback from this meeting and the survey, we are going to narrow our options down to a preferred alternative. Menta Emma will further develop that preferred alternative and also prepare some rough costs. Oh, that was something we didn't talk about
Yeah, I
earlier.
just wrote that down.
Yeah, let's come back to that.
Okay.
And once we've further developed the preferred alternative, we will be reporting on the process and the preferred alternative to the Board of Selectmen and Town Council for consideration and hopefully decision on moving forward. I could add after that, that the Housing Authority will probably inherit the project from there if it
Then
goes
we
forward.
move on to 2036.
And, if you want to stay in touch, here's our email address and our website and QR code for the survey. Yeah, so the cost piece, should I put that back in the disclaimers?
Yeah,
Up front, like,
I
we're not
think so.
really going to get into cost tonight because this is so preliminary.
Yep.
We know some of you may have specific questions. And again, Amanda Emma can probably give you some feedback on which ones are more expensive and which ones are less expensive, but until we have a preferred alternative, we're not going to get into.
And I think in addition to assure them that further work is going to be done before the recommendations handed to the Board of Selectmen, because you're going to say that later, but at some point, just.
Okay,
On that same thing, I've only had one person come to me and comment on this, and the comment was, why don't you do an elder house? That's what we should be doing. They then, they saw affordable housing committee, and said, well, this is great, we do elder housing, so just be ready for that too, I suppose.
Okay.
Maybe insert that as a disclaimer or upfront, or
okay.
maybe just leave it alone, but, you might get some
Yeah,
commentary on that.
well, it popped into my head when you were talking about the train station.
Mm,
And you could say, when you said higher and best use, I wonder if you just want to
Wanna
say,
throw out
for
other-
senior housing or this, or,
Yeah, yeah.
It could facilitate any number of.
Right,
different
a lot of
uses.
things, and you might just throw that in there, because I agree,
You mentioned master plan.
yeah.
mhm. I mean, what I don't say is that would probably slow this whole process down, but
We'd have to do something else.
we'd probably have
Right.
to do something else in the meantime if
Right,
we decided that a master plan for a lumberyard was important before we move forward with affordable housing.
could be 2036.
Well, and it could be phased again. So if we wanted, which is sort of a benefit of lumberyard, yes, we understand it's a highly visible location. It's also highly convenient, and if we could do this in phases so that a master plan could be developed in conjunction with our development of affordable
Mhm.
housing to me. I just
Yeah.
think there's a way to massage that where it's like one doesn't necessarily preclude the other because it can be phased.
That's true. If we could agree on the location of the garage and get that built, then the rest of it.
Yeah, is
Work
definitely,
out.
and again, it's a chance to reaffirm what our mandate is not to develop a master plan for any of these or
Right.
try to find commercial tenants. Our mandate is to figure out the best places to put, Affordable housing. yeah.
We did, I'll look it up so that we know going into it. I do think that you can get some level of viewpoints for senior housing.
Yeah, I think it's 0.25.
Yeah, it's pretty small.
It's like a quarter of what you would get, which is it's a flaw.
Yeah. it should-
And
It's
Mike,
a
do you-
total flaw in the,
It
Yeah.
is.
in the legislation.
And does it have to be deed restricted by age? Like age restricted?
I think to be.
Qualify
senior
as senior
housing,
housing,
yeah.
the same way that
Does.
affordable have to be deed restricted?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we've identified that as a flaw. I mean, we've, in a letter to the legislature, and you can say like, I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe not get into it, but just say, we all want more senior housing, and certainly seniors are not precluded from any of our affordable housing developments. But 100% elder care, right now our goal is to get these moratorium, and if we were to do exclusively senior housing, we'd only get a quarter of a point for each unit. And so that's, something to consider.
Should I also add to the disclaimers, in addition, this meeting's not about ongoing 830G legislation or pending applications. This is not about changing 830G either. Do I need to say, like, we're starting from the premise that we are going to comply with the law?
I mean, yeah, I think number one could be, this is not a forum to debate
The merit.
830G.
That's what I suggest.
the merits
I
of
really think we should
830G
say-
or amending it.
I
you
really
know.
think we should say that.
Yeah,
As that
I
was
would
the
be
case with this committee.
I
Our
would do.
job was not to debate it either.
Yeah, I would make that number one because it's
Okay.
sort of the most, and then two, this meeting is then not about litigation or applications that are pending pursuant to 830G. Like,
Right.
Yeah, so I suggested something like, this meeting is not about the demerits of 830G or ongoing
Litigation.
830G litigation or the pending 830G development.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
So, and say that, and I agree with you, just say that right up front.
yeah,
But I also think it's important to say then, to remind people, we're not involved in this.
Yeah.
It's not that we don't want to talk about it.
yeah.
There's no point. It's that's not our job.
Yeah.
Those other people are making those decisions. It's not us.
Well, but I think if someone approaches you during the break or whatever with these issues, the answer is, I think the first selectman is handling any sort of negotiations on pending or on existing litigation, and the Planning and Zoning Commission is currently hearing this other application. And so, those are the bodies that are handling it. It's not our job, but here's where you
Here's the
go
people
if you
who are-
want to
Yeah.
Yeah.
complain further. Okay, so overall thoughts, do you think this is like the right level of information?
I'm a little bit concerned about getting through it all. Because,
I'm confident about getting through. You mean like people stopping you?
yeah, because there's a lot of information here.
Yeah.
And I think that invites people to say, well, wait a minute, I know you don't want questions, but I don't understand what you're saying there.
Yeah. I'm gonna
Or
say,
to ask a
go
question.
see Jeff in the hallway. He's gonna answer your question.
And I'm
In fact, you might be the one in the hallway. You might be by the cookie table, Jeff. I mean, we're just gonna have to be strict. I mean, in any public meeting, you do have to
Set the rules.
set the rules right up front and stick to them, because the second, I mean, again, we saw this last night in planning and zoning, the second you kind of let people start heckling from the audience or raising their hands or asking questions when it's not their turn,
I'm persuaded.
it falls apart. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen it too many times. And so,
Yeah, I mean, I think yeah.
To Jeff's point, I think it might be, if it'd be worth your time, find 3 people who don't know anything about this stuff and see what happens when you walk through it. Because I do think even I, knowing far less, now know enough to use words that other people don't understand, and the point is for people to understand what we're doing and then to be able to give us information on it. So I'm not just sure where those places are, but I feel as if there are places where you can even go higher level.
I think it's probably back in the 830G
Maybe that's right.
income
Yeah.
space. I mean, I feel like when we get to the site plans and the
Yeah.
site, unless again, like you're very kind of spatially challenged,
Yeah.
that should make some level of sense to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say, and I'm sure you get to this anyway, but when you put each of the sites up and you put the aerials on them, to just tell people which roads are which.
Orient.
This is Locust, this is Heritage
Yeah.
Hill, this
I'm
is
hoping-
Forest, this is the post office, so that they'll understand.
I have a laser.
I was gonna
pointer
say,
that
does anyone have a laser
one.
pointer?
I
Because
have like
sometimes
one
I
of those
find,
cat ones, even though I
Yeah.
don't have a cat, but you can point to it and you can say,
Yeah.
this here is Locust, this is Main Street, or I think that's a great idea to orient
yeah,
people. I don't know if you need the slide, why is affordable housing important? I mean,
yeah,
that's.
I
sort
could
of the
delete, I
value,
could
and
save
it's
time.
like, it's also like, well, part of it is that we have to comply with the law. I mean, it kind of doesn't matter what your values are about affordable housing necessarily. I think I don't know, I would consider taking that slide out
Okay.
because.
I actually disagree.
Well,
Because I think people
yeah.
have an image of affordable housing. I think it's important to provide the data. I mean, if you mean just getting rid of the slide, then I think that's okay, but I like
I mean, but yes, I could combine quickly in when we talk
Financial.
about the income
Income, yeah, I
levels,
think
this is could be a first year teacher, the one with too many white people.
This one.
Yeah, I just, yeah, again, it's important, but the truth is we're trying to comply with the law and prevent developers to come in and fill this gap when they're not actually providing a lot of affordable housing in those developments. And so we could get into a whole conversation about why we need economic diversity and why it's good for people, but like that doesn't resonate with some people and it does resonate with others. And I just,
The fact of the matter is we have to.
with the fact is we have to do
Right.
it. So it doesn't, you know, I don't want to feel like we're selling 830, you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
It
it
is what it
is an
is.
opportunity though with the
Yeah.
incomes to explain.
So I think I can combine,
Yeah.
you know, some basic information about who might live in affordable housing when I revise this and we talk
Yeah,
about the
I think
income
that is
levels.
important, because people
Yeah.
still think that it's,
Yeah,
it's all Section 8 housing,
Yeah.
or, it's, that's not it, it's working families, so I think that's good.
Yeah.
I hear your point about that slide. I mean, the thing is, the Canaan was doing affordable housing
right.
way before it cleared the G.
yeah,
Yeah.
Actually, we're pretty good about that, when I did see that as something that we attack. Yeah, I'm agnostic on that,
I was fascinated, just as an aside, by reading about the number of 830G applications now versus
Yeah.
pre-COVID, for example, and
Yeah. I mean,
Crazy.
Greenwich is getting
hammered.
slammed, Fairfield slammed, like,
and Darien just said no, or no.
It
well, they
doesn't
just-
apply to affordable. It doesn't apply to.
It doesn't?
Yeah.
I don't think you can
No, you
do,
can't put
Okay,
you can't do a town imposed moratorium on 830G. I mean, that's essentially what if affordable wasn't carved out of that, but it does not apply to 830G.
Rich had trusted, I don't know if they think.
Yeah.
Sure.
Saying no.
yeah, why earn the Hugh points when you can just make your own moratorium?
Right.
Oh, we have a moratorium there.
Moratorium on building.
This is the easier path.
If Jerry Ginsburg told us
Multifamily.
at their end, they kind of gave up.
Yeah.
He said, we're just trying to improve the housing stock that they're proposing. to
We'll
put in
deal with it as
place.
it comes, as best you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
And they had like 12 or 13 applications at the time we talked to them.
I have one other thought, and I don't necessarily agree with myself about this. But I do think by listing the sites that we considered and we ruled out, those are gonna be the first questions we get, because if I'm in that room, I'm gonna say, oh, come on, that mulch pile makes so much sense. And I don't know, I do believe in showing our homework. I also believe that that is gonna be a conversation that people wanna go off and have, but what do you guys think?
I think presenting it at the outset of. Yeah, I mean. Yeah. Cause I do think it shows that this was a very considered. thoughtful
Yeah,
process.
I don't want people to think we just jump to here.
Right.
I
So
mean-
whether we show it or we just say we considered 7 sites and we narrowed it down to 3, I don't have to list them per se. And I don't even have to include the points they got. I just thought the points helped to explain why we went with the top 3.
People might get all
Yeah.
too interested in that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's helpful for all of us to know, to remember, because I forgot that we considered like a Spark Street lot.
Yeah. Remember we each did like a little PowerPoint for each
Yes.
other? It was cute.
I think it's important for us to know, if they say, well, you looked at 7, what were the other ones that you looked at? We can say the mulch pile, and this is why we discard, why we.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at them all as objectively as possible,
Mhm.
not subjective, but even, I don't know if you want to get into detail, but this is what we did. Even assigned, everyone had their own little
Yeah.
property, and everyone was kind of an advocate for it a little bit. But we tried to look at it as objectively as possible, we split responsibility among different people on the committee to get feedback. It will, to try to come to a consensus, I don't know how, I'm not explaining it well, but to your point, how the sausage is made.
Yeah, I think that's true. So I don't know, I don't feel strong about it.
Yeah,
I agree,
I'll look
taking
at
away the rankings is
trying
probably
to-
down to-
Pull this up a little bit of a
Team.
level so that it doesn't invite
Yeah.
questions.
It's maybe that every time I see the mulch pile, they can work harder on that.
But I thought it was because it was deed restricted, but I thought there wasn't any.
There's no sewer.
There's no sewer or
But
water.
it's right across.
It is across the
Well,
Oh,
street.
is it
we got
across the
ex-
street?
We got expert testimony from people in the town. We had the engineer and Captain
Yeah.
Allen and Sarah. And I think I brought it up that night in there about the mulch pile again. It was dismissed. I'm trying to think why. I think it was extending the sewer.
Yeah,
extending
Maria's
the sewer district.
not open to extending the sewer.
That has its own around it.
So I wanna to reinforce the suggestion that Hillary made, which is to start with your best, and then I would also make certain that as you're listing them, you put Richmond Hill and Morse Court together, just in the listing.
Okay.
You mean one after the other?
Instead of,
They're separated as they are.
Yeah.
On the listing here.
well, I did it because the way they're numbered on here, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'll try
Once
and,
you move those
I'll just put 1
numbers.
and 4.
Yeah, because conceivably you could partner a smaller locus with,
Yes, with one of them too. Yeah, that's true.
but
It's an à la carte menu.
yeah.
Yeah, go from column A, and go from column B. I mean, but it could be, and I think. I mean, it kind of could. It goes to I think it's all feedback. I think I would welcome comments about that and. I mean, I don't want to get into cost discussions about, is it more expensive to do 2 smaller ones than. And, you know, Locust might, I mean, one of them might be out, people might just respond and be like, are you crazy? The traffic there is horrible as it is, why, we can't even consider that. Well, maybe we make that a parking lot, or, you know.
Right.
You know, the other things to consider, and all of that feedback from them. I think it's important that we, yes, we're socializing these ideas, but we're not trying to impose on any. What we
Right.
want is as much feedback as possible without saying, well, what about this? Well, what about, you know,
Yeah.
litigating some case.
Yeah.
Right.
Instead, just taking it in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I would not want to get into a situation where people were advocating and felt like they wanted to come out of the conversation with the right solution, you know?
Yeah.
I just want to capture all the feedback they can give us, and then we'll sort it out.
And I think that when we break into the small groups and you're facilitating that, like, repeat that mantra to yourself and to them. Like, we're not here to advocate or litigate, you know, which one's the best one, or there's only one answer and I have the right answer. It's just all
You
information.
should speak to that, you talk about next steps and survey and then going to making a recommendation, going to the politicians.
Mm-hmm.
Or some may dismiss everything, you can go back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that like
That's true.
guiding principle is sort of
Thanks,
when
thanks for
somebody
that.
says something and it's like, okay, yes, and what else?
Right.
Yes, and.
Yeah,
Like
it's
coming-
just-
And not being defensive about anything that, you know, we've come to this conclusion, we could even. If, I would love it, like even, I'll try and do a reference point to meeting dates. If you want more about the
Yeah.
process, go back and watch these 3 meetings where we covered it extensively.
I wonder if maybe we add that to FAQs coming out of this, like, if
See the
people.
meetings at the-
Yeah, if you want to see like Amanda Emma present these site plans in detail, watch the January 12th.
I think
Meeting.
I think it's a great, just to say like, okay, for, you know, if we don't. These are the 3 or 4 that are under
Well, it's
consideration.
not just those meetings either, it was the earlier meetings.
Yeah.
We were talking
Yeah.
about the site's original.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah, so I could pick out, you know, for the future FAQs,
Is it
Some-
future? I think it's post.
post-meeting,
Okay.
I think. Where, you know, some of the most important discussions we had about some of these things and
Yeah.
make those available on the FAQs.
and I think while we're facilitating these conversations, we can say, you know what? All of these, it's a great discussion point, and if you want to see further what our process was in narrowing it down to these 3 or 4. We'll post those,
We are going to
the
post
meetings,
those.
we're gonna
meetings,
post those.
Yeah,
so you
we're
can-
gonna update the
reference to those
FAQs.
meetings, you know. And I think that would be helpful, so that we don't feel also like we're mired in trying to figure out.
Right.
Remember why we chose these, and instead it's like, what do you think about that, about
Right.
Yeah.
what we've narrowed it down to? We had a lot of meetings about it, we'll provide the meeting dates, and you can see for yourself, that this was a very.
Robust
covered-
process, yes.
robust, I know that word.
Yeah.
robust. But yeah, I think,
So just so I'm clear, so I go to the meetings through the town website and then go to AHC and then go down to that list and pick out the videos. Is that the only way, or do we have another access? Okay.
No, so yeah, it takes you to that documents on demand, and then you have to go to
Yeah,
HC
it's
and
kind of a
then,
funky thing, but
it's-
I've gotten accustomed to it, so
We may be, I don't know if there's a better way to get a direct link.
If you instead do a search on YouTube for
Okay.
affordable housing subcommittee and a date, and you throw in a date, usually I search on
On
just
YouTube.
straight up on
On
YouTube.
YouTube.
Because all town meetings are posted
On YouTube.
on YouTube. And so that's kind of an easier way to do it, because I find that a bit clunky, going into the files and having to.
Hillary, that's a great suggestion. So we'll give you the dates and you can go to YouTube and search for it by that date.
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
I was just trying to figure out, is there a quick and easy way so people don't, because getting it through the town website is kind of like, you gotta do this,
Yes,
you gotta do this.
I know.
Then you get this really funky list, you gotta
Yeah.
do this.
yeah, it's a little
It
clunky.
would be great to have those meetings listed by date and subjects covered,
Yeah,
period,
yeah.
on our website. And maybe we put the YouTube links on.
Getting
There is a
crazy,
link to
Jane.
YouTube, like on the town website, which we could even show them how to access it on the computer. But yeah, sometimes I even just go straight to Google and I'm like, we came in affordable housing and I put in April 22nd, and it pops up with the first YouTube. It depends on where I'm accessing it from, so it-
That's the way I get the ordinance, rather than going to the
Right.
website, I just go to this Google
Mm-hmm.
affordable housing ordinance.
Yeah. So I think that's the easiest way I found that that's the easiest way to be a relative line.
This is about the time my son said, Dad, you're so terrible.
I was just thinking, tomorrow we're gonna ask the IT folks for a bunch of help. We love you. Or we love you.
Tucker will interface a lot of that.
Yeah.
She's very good about getting things uploaded correctly and on time, and she's super helpful. I think this is a great presentation.
Yeah,
I mean, it's always easier to go in, it's so hard to get something on paper and then to like not. The amount of detail you provide is so helpful, and it's always easier to edit
Yeah,
a little bit down than have to add.
There's still our audience too, that's still wondering, people are gonna come and
right.
I suspect some people will come up for the first time thinking about it.
yeah. Well, and I mean, hopefully it opens some doors and some minds and people start to get interested. So I think the plan, we have 2 more meetings for us scheduled before the public meeting on the 19th. So that would be next week and the following week. So I will revise this presentation before our meeting next week, send it out again, hopefully in advance, Lord willing that I have the time to do that. And I don't plan to I won't go through the whole thing again at the next meeting. If there's certain slides we need to talk about, of course we can, but I don't expect it to take this long the second time around. At least I hope it won't. Probably by the next meeting, we'll have the FAQs
Yeah,
up. So I don't think we'll be talking about those again. We can give a little update on the outreach for the next meeting, but we don't. And I'll also, in my head and on my Post-it note, have a list of things, materials that we'll need to have at the public meeting. So I'll formalize that for discussion at our next meeting. And then I think I'll be able to have in a Word document, a draft of the survey with some questions so that we can start to think about that. So once we get the presentation kind of tightened up, I want to turn our attention there so that hopefully quickly after the public meeting, like within a matter of days or a week, we can get that survey open online. So
So did somebody ask earlier, were we gonna have large blow-ups of the
yeah, so that was one of my thoughts, is to have posters of some of the schemes that Amenta Emma did.
I think, I was thinking about that during the meeting, I think just ask Amanda Emma to do that, because that's the kind of thing.
They do best.
do.
Yeah. I guess I don't know. I mean, if they were to do all of them, that's a lot, right? Like, I think it was 30 slides or so in that compilation I made you guys of all of the things they talked about. We don't need to bring that many. So somehow we have to sort through what's important for them to bring versus what's not. And I'll think about it a little bit more, but yeah, let's talk about it further at next week's meeting I'll come with my ideas of which things I think we should. Yeah, go back and look at that compilation I gave you and maybe, I wouldn't think we want to have more than 5 to 8 things blown up because, and we don't really have in that room, the consultants that the planning commission had brought some easels. I think the town might have a couple of easels, but to the point, unless we hang things on the wall, if we had 20 boards, we're not going to be able to present them all anyway.
5 or 6 strangers and
Yeah.
I think that would be best, just having strategically placed.
Place, and then I think, like I said, if people want to go deeper, Amenta Emma's here, and I could see them taking people through the boards.
It would be easy for them to take just
Yeah.
see right here, look right here.
The large Post-it note pads.
Yeah.
Are those on easels?
They weren't. No, but we did have an easel at the front of the room where you bring your Post-it up. We just had the big paper on the table. And someone was writing notes and then he took it up to the front of the room and put it up there. So I'll have to figure that out. So yeah, next time we'll talk about handouts, a revised presentation and survey. So that'll be next week, same time, same place. Zoom will be an option. The last thing I wanted to talk about before we leave is we talked about having another meeting with town bodies after this public meeting. I'm kind of walking back on that in my mind a little bit and thinking that, town body members are also citizens and they could come to this meeting. I think the only thing I would say is you're representing as a citizen in this meeting. You're not here to represent your town body. If we feel like we need to do further outreach to them, I was thinking that those of us that represent other boards and commissions could take this presentation or a modified version of this presentation and give it in one of our separate meetings, not an official Affordable Housing Committee meeting, but like town council meeting or planning zoning meeting, and just share the information that way if we feel like we need to make the boards available.
I was thinking a little bit about this too, but I think it'd be really natural for us when we advance our recommendation to the selectmen to say, we're very happy to sit and walk you through this. This is not just a blind, we're just not just a lava report over here.
Oh, yeah. No, I think we have to have like an actual presentation when we do that.
And so I don't think we need to do that before.
Okay.
And I think we don't want to do it beforehand. We want it to be kind of our collection work.
But you're referencing the same group, basically, that we met with before.
No, there was a conversation at our this
Yeah.
meeting last week where it was like, well, do we invite all of town council and all of the board of finance and all of planning and zoning commission and maybe our legislatures at the state and all these different people? And the answer is, of course, if they live in New Canaan and they care
Right.
about this, they're welcome to come. And then, so then we thought, oh, well, maybe we don't want this to become a pit stop on a campaign trail.
Right.
And so, I mean, my standpoint is, if you come to the meeting, you're coming as a citizen. You're not here politicking. And if we feel like we still need to really reach out to those boards and commissions, I think there's other ways to do it besides us holding another meeting, because let's be honest, this is a lot of work.
Yeah. Great.
All right.
So let me just share, I don't want to pound on this too hard, but I really hope that in the presentation, we've given people enough information so that they can sit at the table comfortable, that they have constructive feedback to give us.
Yeah.
And I would, going back to what Jane said, and I felt the same way, which is there is some information in there, which is in your presentation. It's a great presentation, but there is some information which is needless. And we just don't need to give it to them. And it may, if they come out of it confused, they may be a little bit more hesitant to contribute. And so as you're thinking about it, as you're going through it, please just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Hillary said it best. We want these people to give us their feedback, and we want it to be honest, correct feedback. But we don't want to debate, and I don't want a lot of people to say, oh, well, that presentation, it was just way too much, way over my head. I didn't understand any of that stuff. And we really don't care about if they understand some of it.